So if you can get it to disable video, that would be awesome.
There.
Nice. Nice.
I see some of these names popping up, and they're very familiar.
Okay, so I think we should have audio going now, and I don't have any other video cameras going at the time or right now.
Hey guys, can you hear us?
Haha! Alrighty. Yeah, Khalid says yes. I'm going to trust Khalid. All right.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'm going to just fade this guy back in. There we go. So it went from sweet 4K DSLR to cheap webcam with really, really bad matte extraction. Sorry, guys.
Whatever works, right? Whatever works.
Right. We got to give the people what they want. So I'm going to just jump back over to no face over here. So love you guys, face. I'm just going to disappear for a minute, though. Boom. And we've got this chat window open right there. You can see that it is indeed Agent Smith on Discord with me right now. So, hey, guys, shout out to Agent Smith for being the first and only, to date, the first project leadership member to just jump onto a live stream impromptu.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you got a community that really supports what you're doing and really believes in what you're doing. So they asked for you, man. They asked for me to take a look at ZelCash, for me to evaluate the project. I'm just gonna say, like, and I'm sure you get this, right? White papers, if you somebody said in the comments, if you've read one white paper, it's like you've read them all. And with a Satoshi-like blockchain, you do kind of, those of us who are kind of closer to it, we kind of get tired of hearing the same thing or reading the same thing over and over again. So apologies if I seem a little jaded. We kind of all are at this point, right?
No, I totally get that, because I mean, there is a lot of a lot of white papers out there that aren't legit, or like you said, they're just regurgitation of previous white papers that have been out there. But the difference between us, and I will tell you, I'm going to start out with an asterisk by saying that we do have a new version on our roadmap of a new white paper that's going to be released within the next week or so, which clears up some of the ambiguous parts of the paper. You started to talk a little bit about the Zel node scenario, and we call them Zel nodes. Some people call them master nodes, but we have yet to really see a project that utilizes the master nodes the way that they're supposed to. So our project, honestly, is a grassroots project. It started from, I don't know if you know much of the history on it, but I can take 2 seconds and tell you that it was created by a young man named Miles, who's 16 years old, which, I see a lot of people talk about that he is a very, very talented guy, very, very, gifted. I would say there's in my time in the space, I've probably only met a few people, a handful, that really are as gifted as what he is. And then he was real lucky because he surrounded himself with people that believed in the project. So we went out, and if you keep scrolling down there, you'll see Miles. He's down there. But Miles surrounded himself with people that have been in the space for quite a while. So myself and Parker, which is another advisor. So he's got some elders, because I'm the elder of the group that kind of helps to oversee the project. So it's good to have youth and vigor, and we're really looking forward to a really positive project. And what we've done with ZelTrez is it's not just another wallet, but it is the gateway to a greater development platform. And that's really what we were looking for. Is we wanted to make sure that we looked, and we wanted to do something that has not been done a lot, and that is we wanted to go out and create a project that actually worked and did something. And it's all, if any of the users have not downloaded the ZelTrez application, I would highly recommend doing it. It's a great user interface. It really is it's a really nice piece of work.
Okay, awesome. So this, I don't know if this sounds weird, but should I just call you like Daniel, Danny?
Dan's fine. Yeah.
Cool.
Call me
All right.
Dan.
All right. Cool. Because now it feels weird to call you Agent Smith. It's kind of
Danny would get you no points.
Oh no, my bounty is gone.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you being game for this. And so I see Miles right there. I've popped open Miles's his GitHub account right there. As you know, something that I like to do, and something that I recommend that anybody does when they're evaluating a new coin project. Christy knows me too well. I was literally about to start singing it. But I like taking a look at lead developers, their GitHub commit history. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it does tell some kind of a story, right? You might have private repos somewhere else. Maybe you're a bigger fan of GitLab, right? Now that GitHub is changing ownership.
Yeah, by Big Blue Machine.
Right, yeah. It's like, what is it, that movie Critters, right? Where they form into a giant ball.
Yes.
Eat everything in their path. Yeah, watch out. But so I get that like GitHub commit history is not everything, but it is a key indicator that a developer is active. You know what I mean? So I like taking a look there. And I see right here that Miles is very much focused on ZelCash wallet. And let's take a look to see exactly where these went. Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and one of our lead developer who really is behind a lot of that as well is the Trunk, is what they affectionately call him. And he is a very, very, very talented guy as well. And that's the one thing about the project is what we did is each one of us were very committed to the project, and not necessarily we're not one of those regular projects. We have a background of IT. So I come from IT. Parker comes from IT. We want to actually make an application that works and functions and does the things that we say it's going to do. We want to miss. There's the Trump. So we want to make sure that the project does exactly what we anticipate. So when we say that we're going to do something, we want to do it, and we want to make sure we hit our roadmaps and make sure that we're doing the things we're saying we're supposed to do.
Nice. So it sounds like the Trunk does a lot of the heavy lifting. I'm going to pop open the Trunk's GitHub page here as well. So let's take a look. All right. So, the feed is back to to answer your question, Sean. Seth has a recall ability. Yes. So
I will tell you that if you look back at that Twitter page, the Trunk actually fixed a pretty fairly significant issue with I believe it was ZenCash wallet. So I mean, he's very committed to the space, not only the project of ZelCash and ZelTrez, but he's committed to really building the community up. So he's worked on other projects along the way, and he's really kind of honed his skills helping people solve problems.
Yeah, very, very cool. I'm seeing that from the Trunk right here, and that commit history is pretty prolific there. Certainly
pretty stout.
Yeah, right. I mean,
pretty stout. Yeah.
Yeah, 18 commits on June 11th. I don't know if that was like an all nighter, like bender, right? Like nothing but like Red Bull and aspirin. But
the trunk runs on nothing but Red Bull, and he has a cot in the middle of the room that he sleeps on every now and again, but it's only for about 15 minutes, and then he's back coding again.
Oh man, that's impressive. That's just really impressive.
He's good.
So awesome. So really great to see that you got a healthy commit history. I'm going to take a look at the repositories that the Trunk contributes to. Zcash Swing Wallet. Okay. Forked from the ZenCash official. Zcash bin, ZelCash, there it is. Bitcoin Z, that's cool. I interviewed Bitcoin Z last week, and really great community there too.
Yeah, we have a good relation. The project has a good relationship with other good community-driven projects. Bitcoin Z is one of those, and we have a good relationship with those guys over there, and we respect what they do.
Nice. Well, and I like their community vibe. The Bitcoin Z, I gotta admit, they won me over with the open source community that they have, and the fact that they're so committed to the project in that way. That's hard for a blockchain project.
It really is. And to keep it motivated and keep it moving forward, and keep pushing the project forward in a community environment like that it takes a lot of coordination, and we give them a lot of respect for that. And we'll be, I will tell you, we'll emulate some of those things. We'll find what the positives are, and we'll grab onto those things as well. So they've been a great community.
Nice. Man, I'm still mind blown. Guys, can you guys give Dan all the love in the comments right now for jumping on the show? Like, I'm getting some praise in the comments, but I wasn't the one that stopped what I was doing to jump onto a live stream impromptu. So guys, definitely show him some love. Make sure you join the Discord as well, and check out the project here so that you can communicate your appreciation for that level of commitment and dedication. So love what I'm seeing so far with the trunk, and certainly there's prolific contribution to the ZCash Swing wallet, which I imagine then propagates out to some other projects.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I mean, certainly when you look at CryptoNotes, for example, if you've seen one CryptoNote wallet, it's like you've seen them all, right? Like there tend to be a lot of similarities between projects that are forked.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to ask you some of the typical questions too. Before we jump into anything or jump back, I want to just ask really briefly, as far as the ZelCash project, what was boil it down to the big problem? If you see my interviews before, I like to ask some of the typical tech development and tech startup questions, the sort of thing you'd be asked if you were in Silicon Valley and you were pitching VCs, right? What was the big problem? What was the big one? The thing that you were just like, this is too painful. Something has to be done.
So I think the biggest thing was the user interface of the application. So we looked around and looked at other projects, and the open source criteria. This is a big debate that rages on between the open source, closed source environment. And us in IT, in the world of IT development, we're very accustomed to closed source environments. In other words, Apple and Microsoft and the other big ones. These are closed source environments. These are where they create a one-stop shop for whatever it is. The user interface that we found going around, and really the entry level to if you want to have if you want to get to an exchange, you got to do this. If you want to move one currency to another currency, you're going to have to do this. If I want to keep, if I want to keep my ZCash and my Bitcoin Z and my Hush and my, my ZelCash, you have to have different wallets, and you have to make sure they're maintained and you're updated and all that kind of stuff. So what we did is we focused on the user experience. We said, how can we make this fairly seamless for our users that they can go out and they can actually own and get crypto simply, right? And then also open up a gateway for long-term for decentralized exchange development, DApp integration, and how we can really provide a one-stop shop for our end users. So we have that historically in a lot of different areas in our lives. If we sit down and we want to order something online, we go to Amazon, we look at it. Everything, those providers come to one centralized location. So it's a little bit centralization in terms of the shopping experience. We're not looking to replicate that because these are all decentralized assets, but we are looking to centralize them for the end user, so the experience becomes more open. So that's kind of the problem we looked at and we're looking to solve.
Got it. Okay, so it sounds like then, pardon me if I get this wrong, so you're going to need to help me clarify. The problem that you wanted to solve was usability from an application standpoint. I'm actually, frankly, I'm a little, you spun me around just a little bit there. If you could boil it down to the one major problem, was it UX of wallets? Was it?
I think it was the user experience. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, for us as crypto enthusiasts, we're very apt to go out and do whatever it takes to secure our wallets, to go through the process. But from the standard user, if they had an application where they can keep 10, 15, 20 currencies in one particular location, that's where ZelTrez really comes into play. And ZelCash acts as the means of transaction also between the development of the DEX eventually, and then also the dApps as well.
Got it. Okay, so ZelCash is essential as a token for everything else that you're building as a team, and it sounds like Zeltrez is meant to be a rallying point for other like-minded projects.
There you go. That's
Okay.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
Cool.
Well put.
Hey, just saying, if I can't understand it, then you're gonna have a really hard time pitching to some other people. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so help me kind of navigate through this, and let's jump back to the white paper, because again, I hope you'll forgive me, but the major criticism that so many of us have is going through a white paper and feeling like we're getting a bit of other projects regurgitated to us without jumping into the meat of like, hey, this is the unique technology, methodology, approach, or team that we bring. So I appreciate you bringing up team first, but I want to jump back to white paper and some of the unique approach and methodology and kind of what problems you guys have been solving so far, what problems you guys have yet to solve on the near roadmap too.
Now, I will put an asterisk there because we all have our talents, right? So I am a talented operations guy. I'm a talented, IT infrastructure guy. I understand conceptually everything, and I can probably be dangerous when I answer this. But if it gets down to a really hardcore technical question, we definitely want to bring somebody like the Trunk or Miles on to answer those questions. But I would be more than willing to just give you a top level of how I understand it and what I do. Okay,
yeah, for sure. High level is good. I think high level is probably best for right now. I just sent you an invite over on LinkedIn, by the way. So if you're like, who the heck is Seth Estrada? Well, it's the Seth Estrada you were just talking to. So in case you were wondering, yeah, there's so many Seth Estradas out there. Always friend requesting you on LinkedIn. But
awesome.
But I think the top question is just if you can high level it for us. What I guess the next question is always, why a new fork? Like, before we talk about problems that you solved, why go with a new fork? Why go with a new token? Why even consider a new platform? It sounds like Zeltrez was it's pretty ambitious, first off. So bravo for setting your sights on something ambitious. But why go that route instead of working with, I take it you're closely related to a lot of the other ZK Snark based technologies, right? The Z classics, the Z caches, Zen caches of the crypto sphere. Why create your own fork as opposed to really pushing to strong arm another project that you thought maybe had the team, the momentum, the funding, or the technology to achieve that vision?
Well, I think you're always beholden to that particular project. And I think, especially when you come into a project that's already been pre-established, that you're looking at their vision of what the project is and the vision of how it's moving forward. For us, it was about starting anew, really honestly, a clean slate to go out there and pick our team. We handpicked our team. The individuals that are on this team they've either been in the technology space, they've been in the crypto space, each one is a shared vision, so to speak. So you get a lot of conflict of interest, and you will see this on other projects. And I am not one to name names, but when I was going through the process of vetting who I wanted to align myself with and look at a project, there was a lot of egos that can come into play. One thing I can say about this team is there's zero egos, and we started anew. So the fork was something that we believed in. We looked at the parameters. We looked at how.
Hey, I'm not hearing you, Dan. I'm not sure what just cut out, but I'm not hearing your stream right there. I think the live stream is still going. Can you guys still hear me in the live stream? Can you still hear me over here? I'm going to pop open Discord to see if something has happened over on that side. I'm seeing that the call should still be there, but Dan, I'm not hearing you. Oh, man. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the call and then reinitiate the call. Okay, Dan, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, I don't know what happened there, but it cut our audio.
Weird. Weird. So we were, as I don't know how much you heard of that, but essentially what we did is we looked at the team from the ground up, and coming into a project that had already been pre-established. They have pre-established goals. They have a pre-established roadmap. They have pre-established team members. So we looked at it holistically, and we said, how do we create this thing from the ground up and do it the right way that we want to do it? No egos on this, which is.
Hey Dan, I don't really know what's going on here, but it just cut one more time. So I'm going to leave the call once more and then reinitiate once more. Okay, third time's the charm.
All right, third time is the charm.
Okay, I'll leave that open and maximized on another screen. And I apologize, but you mentioned that basically vetting the team very carefully was a top priority for you as an operations guy and as an advisor. I respect the heck out of that. What the
heck? And I mean that's honestly. Can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay, that was the most important part for us. So I mean, we didn't want to come into a project that was pre-existing and fall within there. I mean, let's face it, that's what the glory of cryptocurrency is and decentralization is. If you don't like it, fork it and do exactly what you do like. Develop your community around it, and we have a very rabid community that loves to support us, and they love what we're doing, and we're about growing this thing from the ground up. We're not about a pump and dump scenario where we overinflate prices. We just deliver. We just do things that nobody else is doing. I mean, one of the things we did just literally yesterday was we added the Binance token. So we integrated the Binance token into the ZelTrez that'll be released with the next release of ZelTrez, and that was under the guise of the CZ, I believe his name is, reaching out and saying, hey, people are missing opportunities. So we jumped on it immediately and said, hey, you know what? That's us. We can jump on that. We can do that. We can integrate you. And that was well received by the community yesterday as well.
Nice. Okay, so it seems like then team, like you've really focused on that, and then you guys are working to maintain a high degree of communication between other projects where there is some alignment, but also you wanted to be able to kind of stretch out, spread your wings, and try your own thing, get out into man, I hate to use the phrase blue ocean, but you really wanted your own ability to just navigate to wherever you wanted to go.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and
okay.
that's exactly what it came down to.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk briefly then. Let's jump back into specific problem solving then, and I think this will help a lot in terms of the audience here. We'll jump back into some questions regarding mining, questions regarding because clearly at least one person had mentioned that they have their entire mine pointed at ZelCash today, which is cool. So you have some fans in the audience, but let's talk about problem solving that the team has been doing so far. Which specific problem did you need to solve first, or did you want to solve first when you forked? And pardon my ignorance, but jumping back even before that, exactly which project did you fork from? Was it Z Classic? Was it ZelCash?
We are a fork of ZelCash. So, and the problem that we, as we talked about a little bit earlier, is we wanted to establish a community. So, the goal was to create our brand, and we didn't necessarily, everybody gets compared to, if you're a fork of ZelCash, or if you're a fork from Z Classic, then or Bitcoin, you get lumped into that. Well, we wanted to go a different path, and even so much as when they started talking about the algorithm challenge here, especially with the Z9s that were released, we decided to go a different path. So we didn't do some of the conventional things that other people were doing, and we did that because we have a supportive community. So that supportive community would not have been there had we not initiated it and started the process very early on. And I will say this: I'm an IT leader, and I'm a business guy by heart, but I'm also a fairly large cryptocurrency miner. So we have a mining operation, and we support because of having that background and understanding that mining piece of it, the mining community is very tight knit, and they're very involved in this as well. So it's a miner's coin as well. They enjoy the project and watching it mature and grow and being part of it from the ground level up.
Nice. Love it. So yeah, there's definitely a change in the conversations that I've been having with project management or project leadership, where somebody is involved in mining, because it just helps. It helps so much in terms of preventing the mindset of like, oh, well, we want to be like Bitcoin, so clearly we can't resist ASICs forever. It's inevitable, right? And sort of throwing their hands up in the air and saying like, well, it means we've arrived. If people are making ASICs for us, we've arrived. Having a miner on board helps with that, I think.
Yeah, and we are absolutely ASIC resistant. We as a team have all agreed that, you know, to keep things decentralized, and, you know, especially with Bitmain's business practices and some of the things that they've done, you know, we honestly, as a project, there was an easier step that we could have took, but we decided to change the algorithm completely. So, you know, we're in the process of going through that test net, and each one of us understanding from an operational standpoint what that means to our community, and communicating that with our community has been very important.
Awesome. Okay, well, I know that we had Christy Lee Minahan in the comments from before. Oh, got a girl. You've probably seen her tag around. And
I have.
Yeah. We're doing Mystery Mining Mondays now, and I know that a lot of our initial guests they're going to be greeted to an earful of Prague POW. So I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention it now. You guys should probably take a look at it, because if you're back on the show at any point, I guarantee you're going to be hearing about it. For my part, I think it is an important step in that direction because it uses more of the GPU. But I don't know that it is necessarily the right, the correct next step for a lot of projects. Let's get back to proof of work algorithms in a minute. But let me ask, as far as the next problem that you want to solve outside of ASIC resistance, what are one of the next big problems that the team wants to solve?
So we've one of the things that we've promised, and I don't know if you can pull up the roadmap or not, that you can share with the team. But one of the things we've looked at as well is securing the network and giving us the ability that once we've created this central, or this portal that brings people onto the ZelTrez platform, how do we develop it from there? So there's been a lot of conversation around the nodes, how you actually use a node. So I mean, other than a coin coming out and saying, hey, we're going to release master nodes, and they have this massive pump and everybody buys the coins, and it doesn't really do anything to validate the network. But one of the things that Miles and Trunk and the team have looked at is how we can create these secure Zel nodes that they actually function for transactional means, and development of the project has been our focus. So and we didn't come out to the community and say, hey, guess what? It's going to be X amount for a node or X amount for Zel super node. We've done that as a community, and we've discussed that, or beginning to discuss those things as a community. So we don't even know what those numbers are yet. We've started the process of discerning it. We always go from the problem backwards. We look at what we have to fix, and then we come up with the economics behind that. So we're not looking to come out and inflate the price. And if you look at ZelCash, it's not even listed on CoinMarketCap. We purposely fly under the radar, not to inflate or bring attention to the project. Although it's good to get on venues like this to be able to discuss the project. We're doing this so that we're developing so that it actually works the way that we say that it's going to work.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that is phenomenal. I think user experience is completely shattered when you start outlining a project that has functions that you could never hope to achieve. So bravo for keeping grounded, right? Like having lofty goals, but keeping your feet on the ground. So let's talk a little bit about like specific next steps, and without getting too granular. Is there a specific like engineering problem that has to happen now? That has to be solved now?
I think the biggest engineering battle that we're coming up against is honestly is resources. So we're obviously you've seen the trunk and his commitment level and Miles and we definitely have a resource team that's very effective at what they do. But it's also engaging other projects as well to really learn some of the things that we don't necessarily know. We don't come into this space and say that we know everything, so we don't necessarily understand the economics per se about around how we want to run our nodes. But what we are going to do is develop that and learn. So the roadmap is it's a big one, and we have a lot of big things coming up. We have a new release of the updated white paper to get a little bit away from that canned Satoshi feel and into more of a developed white paper, so that it really outlays our Zel nodes and really our dApp development and our decentralized exchange integration.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, I would definitely say lead with that stuff. I think well, I mean, and I get it, the whole David Ilgaivi thing, right? The whole like the customer isn't an idiot. The customer is your wife. I get that you want to speak as though you're trying to explain something compassionately. And I'm sorry to have made such a big stink about it when we first started chatting, but that's one of that's what a lot of people who are like really interested in doing their due diligence, that's what they're going to check first, right? So lead out with what makes you guys unique. In my opinion, lead with that red leaf, right? Of like, hey, we're doing something with ZelTrez that's ambitious and big and different.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. I can't wait to see the next revision of the white paper. I know Loki, when I had them on the show, they were like, "Oh, don't judge us by our white paper. We're about to revise it again." So good luck.
Yeah,
with that.
and I mean, if it's a good project, they're going to have many iterations of the white paper. And let's face it, in the business world, but because judge us on our product, judge us on our community, judge us on our involvement in the project. I mean, I think that those are very important areas to go into research as well. If you're doing those due diligence pieces, you're going to see that it isn't just about that particular white paper. It is about the community involvement as well and the team involvement.
Right. I'd have to agree. I think when you take that as and you kind of average it between the sum of all those parts, I think a lot of people who are into mining in particular, they do put a lot of stock into the white paper, because there may be a developer who shared between other projects, for example, or there may be some commits that go that really go off project and can be confusing for those people. So they go back to the white paper to see, all right, well, what is your aim, right? Like, what is that big problem that you're solving? And not just what's the roadmap, but what are some of the action items that you're taking? What are the tasks that you're actually going to undertake in order to achieve that vision that's on the roadmap? So again, without beating a dead horse, I think that's why a lot of my community was like, as Christy in particular, she was really, really critical. I mean, dismissive, to the point of being very dismissive. I was like, I had to ask her to tone it down a little bit.
Totally understand, and totally. I mean, we are in an environment where you see a lot of these projects and they all look alike. We are not a Trojan horse. We are legit. So we're here to. We're here to develop the project, and people would even people in our community have challenged us and said, hey, you need more marketing, you need more shock and awe, right? No, we're by design, we're doing it the right way. So
yeah,
that's
nice. No, I totally agree. If you're focused on functionality, and the roadmap for this year is, man, it is ambitious. You guys are grinding. So kudos for that.
Yeah, we're actually, Miles is from the UK, and he's actually coming here to the stateside. So I'm working with him a little bit to mentor him and work together and development of that second version, that second iteration of the white paper. And he's gonna spend some time here with the team, and we're gonna continue. So we're not just faces on a screen. We're actually we're I know this sounds so cliche, but I mean, we're a bit like a family. I mean, we are. We really we grow together. We kind of argue a little bit every now and again, and we always come out with on top in the end. So it all works out.
Nice. And what is that like? Is in terms of the team coming to decisions? Can I ask in terms of just in terms of just project governance and in terms of org tree? So with you as an advisor, you're uniquely positioned to answer this definitively with the team. What does it look like when there's a difference of opinion? does Miles get, I mean, is there, I'm not going to ask if there's like ageism or whatever, but does Miles get treated with like a ton of deference because he's the original founder, or does he sort of get consulted and then have his opinion weighted against the rest of the development team? How hard is it for you guys to come to consensus on new choices for development?
Well, that's the amazing thing is Miles acknowledges that, from the technical aspect of it and understanding blockchain and coding, his knowledge is vast. And of course we have the trunk that comes in, and I don't ever question, I might question the process of the rollout or the process of the operational aspect of it. But we all have our unique kind of niche, and Miles is not scared to ask, and which is amazing because I have a bunch of kids myself, and none of them ask me anything. But I never feel like Miles is a child. He's honestly, he's one of the most amazing people I've ever worked with, which says a lot because I've been in the space. I'm an old head, I've been around for quite a while. So, it says something when and I'm not just saying that, but I really would love to see him come on your show and to be able to, maybe white paper 2.0. And when we get close to the nodes, we can come back on and share that. But I think you'll see he's a very, very unique individual.
Very, very cool. Well, let me ask this. I mean, I know that there's a bit of a time difference with him being in the UK and us broadcasting the show here stateside. I take it you're here in the lower 48, not in Hawaii or overseas.
I am in the 48. Yes, cool. I am.
All right. So maybe why don't we do this? We do not. We have a couple of potentials lined up for Monday. We'll do a double first here, right? So where you jumped onto a show live, and then we have Mystery Mining Mondays. Christy was very critical when I started this live stream. I had to ask her to kind of tone it down. Would you guys be game to come onto the show this Monday with Christy Lee Minahan, with Jeremy Sharapa, JMS Vlogs, and me to do sort of a roundtable discussion about ZelCash, about proof of work, about the technology that you guys are working on and the loftiness of the goals that you have and what it's going to take to make that project happen?
Yeah, I'll put an asterisk to that. I will definitely check with Miles on that. I know he will be stateside at that point in time, so I would say yes, we will do that. We would like to have the trunk on as well to answer some of the technical aspects of it. So we might have a fefew more of the team on there than and actually we do live streams, and I just, this is kind of a selfish plug. We do live streams every other week as well. So if anybody ever wants to learn about the project or participate, come to our ZelCash YouTube, and you can view our live streams, and we go over the project and timelines and scope and where we are within the project itself. So highly recommend you do that as well. But yes, I would be more than willing to come back on.
Awesome. That's great. So yeah, let's go ahead and we'll table some of the discussion until Monday when you have both the trunk and you have Miles on the show. So it just makes it a little bit simpler to address some of the technical stuff, and then also I won't say like criticism, but any of the skepticism that we have from some of our more technical co-hosts. For my part, it's more the white paper that I look at, and I'm not a programmer. I just play one on YouTube and kind of but I know how to read a white paper, and I know how to assimilate a white paper. My background is in corporate training, technical training, so I can read a white paper, I can pull key takeaways from it, and I can turn that into an 8-hour long classroom or a week-long classroom if you needed me to. So there's my shameless plug for any Fortune 500 or Fortune 50 companies. Some of you have already worked for. So,
there you go. You go.
So yeah, I do fly in, fly out engagements. I'm what they call in the corporate training space. I'm a special operator. You can helicopter me in, and I'll rappel down into your building and train your people, but overthrow small governments, but or really just small training teams. But with the white paper, I think the biggest question that I wanted to talk to you about today, come back to, is actually no, let's shine it. Let's leave the white paper off the table for today, because I think that we've kind of established that it probably needs a rewrite. And my first impression was maybe a little negative, but it sounds like Miles is going to be the person who directs the rewrite of the white paper anyway. I think I lost Dan. That was an awkward silence. Okay, you know what? Discord just keeps dropping it. I'm gonna leave the call briefly and then jump back in. Okay, so.
All right, buddy.
There you are, man.
So yeah, I think Miles will probably be the go-to guy for the white paper, and I've seen the first release of what he's roughing in, and it's pretty impressive. So I think the best thing to do is to probably get to the point where that second white paper is released, and we can judge it on its merits at that particular point in time.
Nice, and I'm perfectly happy to do that. And I'm sure if you've seen any of the other interviews, my intent is to see a rising tide for all crypto. I want to see the total market cap, the combined market cap, smash through the $1 trillion mark. We got to get there. And then from there, collectively to the moon. We always talk about when moon, but it's like, dude, let's get real here. The total combined market cap has not historically ever even approached Apple, let alone like $1 trillion, let alone air quotes moon. So I want to see everybody. I want to see this rising tide that lifts every project.
And I think what you're going to see now is I joke around with the guys and always say it's kill it with fire. And I think that now is the time that we're seeing some of these projects that really shouldn't have been created in the first place. These different pump and dump scenarios that need to get burned out of. And what you're going to see is from the ashes, the phoenixes are going to rise. The Amazons, the Googles, the .com projects that are actually fixing a problem. They're doing something. They're developing something, and people get on board those things. And that's what we wanted to do. We didn't want to be a white paper and a pretty face. We actually wanted to be a project that worked.
Yeah, awesome. I love what Pete said. He said, let's achieve orbit first before we worry about the moon.
Amen.
So cool. Let's leave the white paper off the table for now. We'll come back to it the moment that we can get that panel interview going with Miles and with the trunk. Super looking forward to that. And I know for Mystery Mining Mondays, it'll just be great to have Jeremy there, to have Christy there, because then you'll get some counterpoint. It won't just be me. I tend to be more of the facilitator. They tend to ask a lot more of the tactical questions that have to do with everybody's concern. Though I do want to jump into a couple of those with you tonight. One of those is team. So you mentioned team. And we've seen a little bit of the team's background. Certainly, we've seen what they're doing on GitHub, which is inspiring. I guess the top question that I ask most projects is like a day in the life of a ZelCash developer. What gets them up out of bed saying like, this is awesome. I totally want to work on ZelCash today. And yeah.
Well, I can tell you that we've never had a problem with motivation, especially within this project. And honestly, what gets us up and gets us moving is community involvement that we've had. I mean, it's a vision. Each one of us have had another life, with the little air quotes, right? The other life where, we work our day jobs and we do our day things and we, have our families, but inside of each one of us, we're moved to do something greater, to inspire. So, and I think that's ultimately what really fuels us is we want to see change. We want to see the crypto space continue to morph and grow. And for that to happen, you need solid projects that actually deliver what they say. So that's our motivation is we want to be unique, and we're not going to be unique until we cut our own niche and we pave our own way. And we know that that's going to take a bit. I mean, we know that.
Hey, Dan, you know what? Discord has cut out your audio one more time. So this has been it's kind of intermittently happening. Dan?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So we want to be different from everyone else, but to do that, we have to earn our salt. We have to go through the process and prove ourselves. So, we're learning as we go. We don't claim to know everything, right? We're a motley crew of guys that came together with a shared vision and shared goals. So it's going to be we're learning as we go too. So that's what really motivates us is that personal growth as well.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Can I ask, as far in a much more tactical fashion, as far as there being any kind of bounties or any kind of developer fees for your team, how is the team compensated? At least in terms of a public statement that you can make today, are there paid members of the team? Are there volunteer members of the team?
So we do have a developers development fund that we created. We make that very public. It's on the front page of our website. You can check the funds. You can see we're very open with anytime we move funds and what we move it for. We tell them we need to take care of infrastructure. We need to take care of whatever it is, so the community understands that we're not ripping these funds out and selling them off. So, but the ultimate goal is the advisors on this project. And I know this is going to totally blow your mind, but we're all volunteers. We're here because we believe in the project. There are a few paid individuals, and Trunk would obviously be one. Miles would be one. The ones that are putting the rubber to the road and making this thing work. But we're here because we believe in the project. So like I said, Dev Fund is very transparent. We're very transparent with the community. We tell them when we're going to make a move from the Dev Fund to be able to fund our infrastructure, to fund our developing aspect of it. So we're out there for everyone to see.
Okay, got it. What I'm wondering is if there is, you mentioned transparency in terms of developer compensation, and I really appreciate that the advisors, that they are not drawing any kind of rewards from the development fund. That's awesome. Certainly, as I'm sure you're well aware, working on projects like this, development, it always takes longer than you think. And it's unlike generating deliverables for any other kind of business. You know what I mean?
It really is.
Right.
It really is.
So definitely being able to compensate developers is such a big deal. Hey, CryptoMine Tech, appreciate the love. Thanks, brother. Thanks so much for that donation. Those go towards providing better content for the community. But as far as there being some kind of compensation for developers, is the breakdown for the development fund done on Discord, or is there a forum that I'm not seeing here?
So what we do is we do publish it to the Discord and let them know whatever transactions are going to be, and we have you can go into Block Explorer, you can see what's been done with the dev fund. Historically, now you got to keep in mind that we do have a revenue generation model, which is unique from other projects, because we maintain a multi-asset wallet that provides full node and also light node for these particular coins. We have projects that are going to, and I will tell you, buzz thing here, we have a couple new releases that are going to be coming up here within the next week or two, so everybody keep an tight eye on that. But projects that want to integrate into ZelTrez to make sure that they have a centralized wallet that they can use and not necessarily have to maintain, we make revenue off that as well. So it would be somewhat like a exchange listing or something of that nature.
Sure, that's awesome. Hey, Mr. Cuccio, thank you for subscribing. Good to have you on the channel. So awesome. That's great. I appreciate you being transparent about that as well. It's not even so much, I think one of the biggest issues that I've come across since starting the interview series, and it was sort of the thing that helped to galvanize my resolve to continue with this series and this project, was that I ran into it. Like, the first thing that happened when I started to look at some hardware, I did a VBIOS design for a piece of custom mining hardware that I wanted to sell. First thing that I ran into was a gatekeeper, some kind of a broker that basically just kind of arbitrarily stood in front of me, sort of like, well, you can't really you got to work with me. And it's like, yeah, no, I don't. Yep. I mean, first off, if we were in person, you would never talk to me that way, because I would literally choke you. Sorry, that sounds bad. I don't mean to get all Joe Rogan, but I'm going to go all Joe Rogan on this one. Like, people don't normally talk to me that way in person. I'm not a violent person by any means, but I'm a fairly tall and strong individual. So like, I'm not used to people talking to me like, oh no, you need me, bro. Like, you got to let me do my thing and palms out. That's weird to me, because I've never been treated that way. And in business, right? I'm used to there being politics and stuff, right? Like, right. And climbing the ladder. in corporate America. Like I know what that looks like, but here in crypto, the crypto world and blockchain world, it is a whole other level.
It really is.
I was blown away.
Really is. Yeah.
So again, sorry for the Joe Rogan style comment there.
I love it.
I'm mind blown that it's like, dude, you are within striking distance. Why would you talk to another grown man that way?
Yeah.
So like, but yeah, like I look at, but I look at how incredibly opaque so much of the money, so many of the deals are in the cryptocurrency space. So I appreciate you being open to just saying that you're working with other projects. And I think the laborer is worthy of his hire. I think when you're providing value, that's fine. And
sure.
Yeah, like you guys are working hard, and your development team, you can't pull code out of thin air, and you can't do it if you're starving. Like developers who are starving tend to make not much, right?
Well, I will tell you that there was a very good article on CoinDesk, specifically about the drama that happened right before the Overwinter fork with ZelCash and the developer, the open source developer that honestly, I'll say this, everyone just go take a look at it. It was a very well written article about a very large, very large, the largest, I would say, privacy coin out there, all but held hostage. You can make your own discernment on that as well by an open source coder. So you can look at those things, and we believe that in our spaces that as things continue to mature and the space continues to mature, there can be a cohabitation between closed source development, because it's preference. My preference is I want everything in one place, and I want to be able to easily access it. And every 2 weeks, I want an update that comes in, and it's going to take care of any of the issues that I have, and it's all seamless. That's my choice. But there is the open source way as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to offend any of the open source guys here by saying, oh, closed source is better. But I think they can cohabitate in the same environment, and I think it's choice. It's personal choice, and we're all for that. And I mean, in the crypto space, we're very, very libertarian-leaning people, right? We believe in this decentralized world, right?
Yeah.
So let the free market decide what it is, and I think that's what ZelCash has looked at, and Zeltrez is the free market will dictate ease of use. And I like my iPhone, right? I love my iPhone. I hate the App Store. But but right, it's easy to use, and I have it right there. So I think that was our goal, was to solve a problem. The problem being, we want some level of ease of use of these funds, and an onboarding process to get to a DEX, to get to dApps, and how do we do that? And that's where ZelCash was born.
Awesome. That high level statement is so important to be able to clearly communicate that idea, right, and that goal. Thank you for being willing to go over, then just take the time to go over what your project is about and go over your team and the direction so far with me. Because I know certainly, hey, you guys tell me down in the comments, and tell Dan down in the comments, has this been helpful? Has this clarified a lot? Because I think it has. So be sure to give him some love. You mentioned also that you have a YouTube channel. I didn't see the link directly on the project page. Otherwise, I would have put it in the comments here. Somebody do me a favor and link their YouTube channel in the comments here. Go take a look at what their weekly live streams are about. Go ahead and creep what those conversations, what they turn into, right? Because it sounds like there's a bit of team. I mean, you guys do public conversations.
Yeah, every other Sunday we usually shoot for Saturdays or Sundays. It's easier for the team to get together, and I mean we have each member of the team there, and we do what they're responsible for, and we go over whatever project. So if we were added to a particular exchange, or if we're pursuing a particular exchange, we can bring it up at that particular point in time. We can talk about the projects. This week, actually, and I'll put another selfish plug out there, this week we're actually community engagements around the Zel nodes. So we're actually going to begin conversation around what the community's expectation is for the Zel node structure, and we're going to talk about some of the economics that go with that as well. So it would be definitely worthwhile for anybody to attend that's interested in that.
Yeah, for sure. This is so important, getting that community feedback, and I appreciate that you have that. You frame that as a public conversation with the community that you're going to ask to operate these nodes, right? So, like, what better way to do that? I think than on video. I think sometimes some of the other really large, high-profile projects, they tend to talk at their node operators, and they tend to talk at their miners from the ivory tower and sort of dictate to them how things are just going to be.
Amen. That is a very astute observation. Yep. Amen.
Yeah. So appreciate the posture that you have there, which is not to posture. It's to try to get along, to try to get the goodwill of the people who are making your project a reality. So that's awesome.
Yeah, for us to be able to really honestly secure our network and do the things that we want to do, we have to have engagement from the miners. We have to have engagement from the node operators. We have to have a community level that really wants to be involved in the process. So, we do have to be inclusive. We really do. We really have to make it fair for everyone, because it's going to be an important part of our infrastructure.
Awesome. Let me ask a couple more questions, and then I'll let you get to your evening, because if you're anywhere west of Mountain Time, it's definitely after hours. If you're anywhere east of Mountain Time, it's getting late. So I appreciate you being willing to do this. Here are the questions that I have, kind of a lightning round. And top one is ASIC resistance. Why does it matter?
I think it does matter to keep the decentralization aspect of cryptocurrency. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if and I'll keep this real quick. The largest producer of ASIC miners has known to do nefarious things with their hardware and to control the hash power, and that's not something we're looking for. We're looking for more of a decentralized aspect, and we're not. I will tell you this: we're not the only project that's doing that. So there are many projects that are moving to either a different algorithm or change in their algorithm to prevent that from being an issue.
Okay, awesome. So I've got CryptoPope asking specifically, what is the fork plan to avoid the ASICs? Where are you guys currently today on proof of work? Which algorithm do you use?
So we're Equihash, and we will be moving to the X16R, I believe it is, which is similar to what Ravencoin uses as well. We have been running that on testnet, so we do have it on a testnet, and it's running. So that's our biggest concern right now, is to get to the point where we know that it's going to work for us, and it's going to be a community embraced. So far, been very positive. Good response from the community. Looking forward to it. So we're in the process of going through that now.
Awesome. And I was a little bit confused, because I saw, at least in the commit history for, I mean, I have a hard time not calling Miles scribbles now. Geez. But looking through the Scribble commit history, last commit was to Pigeon Coin, actually, which we had Luke Pighetti on the channel not too long ago, who forked from Ravencoin and the X16R algorithm to X16S, as I'm sure you're aware.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So kind of small world, right? I mean, here's the thing.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is. And we have relationships with. I mean, honestly, we have relationships with all of the larger cryptocurrencies in terms of, shared resources, in terms of information, and our goal is to keep the mining community, the cryptocurrency community, moving forward. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So best practices can be shared without giving away particular items of your project.
Okay, so I've got hey, sorry, Greg, I hate to give you bad news here, but GPU Hoarder, David is not necessarily associated with the ZelCash project. The thumbnail that you saw for this video was from before, where I was just going to do an update on the rest of this week's content, and Dan was so cool about me bringing up ZelCash. It was actually a bit of a tangent. We were talking in the comments, somebody said, hey, I want you to interview ZelCash. Not the first time I've heard it. And I mentioned in the live stream that I would reach out to ZelCash and see if we could get them on the show. Dan popped up in the comments as Agent Smith and said, hey, you know what? I'd love to answer your questions. And I said, oh, yeah, well, maybe we can chat over the phone. We can do an audio chat right now. And he said, yeah, well, maybe I will. And he jumped right on. So if you're wondering, that's how we got here to ZelCash from today's live stream. But no, this GPU Hoarder, as far as I can tell, Dan, he's not part of the ZelCash project.
No, he's not. And I'm so sorry that I forked your live stream.
Don't even sweat it. Yeah, don't even sweat it. I was going to do something that was totally about like announcements for the rest of the week. Frankly, we were going to do something that was very free form and didn't have a whole lot of structure to it. So I am so glad that you were willing to jump on the show and do this. I mean, again, you've heard me say it a million times. I'll probably say it a million more. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity.
So let's talk a couple more questions in the lightning round. Let me ask you a couple more. So proof of work in general, this tends to open up kind of a bigger can of worms. So I call it the lightning round question, but maybe it'll turn into more. Proof of work in general, where do you think this is all headed?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. So, I mean, I think if you go back to Satoshi's vision, he visioned this as proof of work as a necessary evil, with anticipation of long-term technology advancing. So, we would never. I mean, at some point in time, we were mining Bitcoin with CPU, and then so on and so forth. And now, of course, we got the ASICs involved in the process. And I think as technology continues to keep maturing and developing, I believe that what we're going to move to hasn't even been created yet. And I really truly believe that. And if you don't believe that, look at the algorithms that have been developed just to play the cat and mouse game with ASIC miners. And some of the best heads in the business are out there looking at new technology, Prague POW, and some of these other things. So I do believe that I don't think you replace proof of work because I think it's necessary. I don't necessarily think it needs to be as labor intensive and as whatever technology comes up that the next iteration of what cryptocurrency mining looks like, it may have a very, very small footprint. And I will tell you that if you look at the Z9s that have been created, not a fan of ASICs, right? But I will give them credit. They get a heck of a lot of souls for not a lot of power. And I mean, I think we can continue to keep seeing some development on maybe the software side or the hardware side to make sure that we're not falling into that ASIC trap.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you there. Something that I've talked to a lot of the guests on the channel about is a concept called useful or proof of useful work. And so instead of, say, using a GPU for finding a cryptographic hash or checking cryptographic hashes, using a GPU to do what GPUs were originally designed to do, like render video or render complex 3D scenes. Mm-hmm. And have there be some kind of proof of effort or proof of useful work that's integrated into the cryptographic hashing algorithm. For me, it's a fascinating question. The idea that we can move past just the need for ASICs or just the need for sequestering all the world's GPUs over in crypto land, as it were, like kind of. Yeah, like instead of having this problem where every gamer in the world is waiting for miners to be done with GPUs, perhaps every gamer in the world can somehow tangentially benefit from miners having GPUs. And I'm really hoping that there's some way to do hybrid proof of work that is useful down the line. But yeah.
That's a great idea, and honestly, that's something that down the road, somebody's going to work on something like that and develop something like that. So I think probably what we're seeing now is the space continuing to mature, and we know as technology guys, right? We watched as we had these massive infrastructures, these server rooms, and then it became cloud-based, right? So we started to move away from that hard drive, although there's a hard drive component to it, a hardware component to it. We're more cloud-based now, and it's been the ongoing maturity. So we as IT guys worked on nothing but centralization. And then what we did is turned around and said, now we're going to decentralize everything. So
right. Yeah, we're like, hey, AWS, we don't like the way you're running things.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So, but I don't think it exists yet, but I do think that we're taking the steps to continue to keep the process moving forward.
Okay, I've got an impromptu question from Roy P in the comments here, and you brought it back up again. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate that. And this one seems like a pretty important question to address. Since you forked from ZCash and not ZClassic or any other project, but what about the trusted setup issues in ZCash? Did you solve them prior to forking?
That's a good question, and one that I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to have to ask that. Miles or the trunk on that. Yes, I believe the answer to that question is yes. They did work on that. They did solve that. I'm not 100% positive what the, I wouldn't speak. I couldn't speak to that. I'd have to let them do it.
Okay, cool. Hey, that's seriously, like, we need more people in the space that just are able to say it the way you just said it, have some diplomacy and just say like, hey, pass. So thank you. And we'll make sure that we have that one on the list of questions for when everybody's back on the show. But Roy P., thank you for throwing that out. That was a really good technical question. We'll bring it back to the technical team. I guess one of the other important questions that I wanted to ask you for the project, staking and other consensus models. You've got the Ethereum Foundation looking at Casper and looking at proof of stake as a long-term solution to consensus. If you were able to see that staking or some other consensus model worked, what would it take for your project to adapt? That's too long a pause. I think Discord just cut the audio again. So I'm going to leave and rejoin. Okay, Dan?
Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we would be remiss to say that we wouldn't be open to new technologies. So we're closely watching what Vitalik is doing with Casper, with sharding, some of these other significant things that they're doing there, and we would watch that technology mature. At this particular point in time, I would say that we would be willing to, whatever it is, whatever technology would come out that is new, we need to do a service to our community, to our project, to review that, to see whether or not that would be a fit for us. So
awesome.
wouldn't be opposed to it. Now I probably would get strangled by some of the other team members, but as an operations guy, my first thing is, what can we do to bring value to this project by adopting this or looking at it or even vetting it out, doing the due diligence behind it. So that would be what I would say.
Awesome. Well, it's good to know that you have a loud voice on the team for that amount of just openness to some of the other consensus models. So I asked that to all of the teams because we have this question about proof of work, and so many of the teams that I've interviewed on the show have been Equihash mineable coins. So I kind of see that as like, so many of the Equihash coins started with the idea that they would just kind of have proof of work on the roadmap indefinitely, thinking, okay, we'll kind of stick with proof of work. We don't want to move to proof of stake in many cases.
Would we want to, as a project, move to proof of stake model, something like Neo? No, we wouldn't want that. That would be a very centralized model, and it's not something that our community would embrace or we would embrace. But looking at something where you have maybe a hybrid of proof of work, proof of stake, or as the space continues to mature and you start to see some of these new technologies develop, we would definitely consider whatever it is to make the infrastructure stronger.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very wise approach, and I think that's why so many teams have not just jumped headfirst into proof of stake. It just doesn't have the track record, I don't think.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so let me ask two last questions. One is, hey Timothy, appreciate the call out there. Yes, indeed. Hit that like button. Wait, it's over there. Over there, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you're notified, because you can never tell. You can never tell what's going to happen on the live stream. You can never tell what's going to happen on the show. Today we were treated to Dan Agent Smith. And
that's me.
Yeah, from ZelCash project, jumping right in and answering arguably some tough questions. So this has been awesome. But two last questions. One of them is, in my mind, very important for your team and reflective of what your mindset is. The other one is important for the community to kind of just be aware of. And I ask them almost every question. So the first question is, 5 to 10 years from now, when you guys are doing a review of this first year's work on this project, what do you want people to remember about the project or the team?
I think what I would really want them to remember, or to kind of to think back on, is the fact that we did not give sway to the financial aspect of this environment. We wanted to develop something different. We wanted to do something unique. We wanted to go out there and create a community and involve the community in the maturity of the project. And what I would like people to look back on and say, there was a bunch of guys and gals that came together and they focused on the deliverables of the project, and they made a difference, and they changed something. And that's what I would like to do. So, I mean, any project in this space, I mean, other than the scams, and there's a lot of scams, any project in this space that's making traction and moving forward, we're in support of that. We like to see those things happen. So, 10 years from now, when we look back, or if we're looking back at what Satoshi did, he may have envisioned, because that he is an alien, so he was an alien, so he knew that this was all happening. I'm kidding. He wasn't it. But he probably never imagined how the space would mature, and he create, or they. He, they,
right?
she.
Yeah. Right. Before we know it's the NSA, let's just be real. It could be.
So,
could be Uncle Sam.
You would look back at it now and say it's amazing how far it's came, but it's only in the space is in its infancy. So looking back at it 10 years from now, I'd like this project to be remembered for what it accomplished and what it continued to can do through those years.
Awesome. Okay, so you really want to be remembered for that hard work and merit then of the project.
Legacy, my friend. Legacy.
Nice. Okay, and then the most important question of the interview. Dan, when were you going to pay me the $25,000 worth of ZelCash that you promised me for this interview?
Oh man, I don't know. We'll have to throw that up to the community and decide whether or not that's going to happen.
Oh no! But if it's transparent, they might not pay me.
Yeah, that's true.
Awesome. So this is just another shameless plug for the channel, guys, and a shameless plug for unbiased reporting in crypto. And we mentioned this earlier on in our chat, Dan, was that there's so many gatekeepers, there's so many shills, and there's so many fudsters, so many people who are attempting to manipulate markets, and they're just not being transparent. And when it comes to this kind of open review or open interview, you need to question what the motivations are of people who are trying to bring you these sorts of interviews and ask these kinds of questions. If it seems too good to be true, or if it seems like they're only throwing slow pitch, or if it seems like, oh wow, I can't tell why, but I just really want to go dump my hard-earned money into this brand new ICO. Then
yeah, totally. I mean, I literally was on my way back here to the hotel. I mean, it was somebody in our Discord said, "Hey, you need to go over there. Seth's talking about you." And I said, "What?" And I jumped over real quick, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" It was as impromptu as could possibly be, and I love it. And our community probably doesn't even really know about this quite yet, or we have a lot of them on here, but I'm sure they'll be glad to listen to this as well.
Yeah,
great,
very, very cool.
great show.
Yeah, well, definitely appreciate you being game for this, and it just kind of it validates the effort that I'm putting into it, setting up with teams who, I mean, they are so used to having somebody standing as a gatekeeper. YouTubers say like, yeah, I've only got 5,000 subs on my channel, but you need to pay me $1,000 before I even schedule the interview.
Yeah,
it's nuts. It's insane.
It is.
So appreciate you being game. Again, guys, do what you can to support unbiased reporting, and especially in the crypto space, it's so hard to get good information. And I think that having these kinds of open discussions with project founders, with project leadership, is important. I mean, you tell me down in the comments, has this been helpful? Putting at least putting a voice to the name, and putting a face to the project, right? We've got right here. I mean, Dan is not hiding. He's right there on LinkedIn. You can find him. Has this been helpful to have a chat with him? Tell me down in the comments. And of course, go check out their channel. Be sure that you tune into their next live stream. It's awesome that you guys are doing that kind of community outreach. Really appreciate you being willing to jump onto this show also, to have cross-channel outreach to the community.
I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate your hard-hitting questions. You didn't take it easy on me, and I do appreciate that. So I might not have had all the answers for you, but we can definitely come back sometime and definitely go over whatever it is that you all want to know.
Awesome. So let's tentatively pencil in this coming Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, love to do it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll reconnect on Discord to firm that up, make sure that it actually is going to happen. Guys, make sure you give a big round of applause to Dan. Make sure that you give him a shout out in the comments. Check out their channel. I'm going to just ask Dan to sign off, and we'll continue the live stream here to kind of wind down today's live stream. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Loved going over the project so far and seeing faces with names. Dan, you've been awesome. Thanks so much. Keep up the good work.
Yep. Thank you. We'll see you.
Alrighty, guys. Wow. Oh my gosh. That was unexpected. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. Dang. So Zero Cool in real life. Thanks so much. Hey, I appreciate you saying that. I am trying to put in a bit more work into this channel to make sure that there's something of value for people when they tune in, as opposed to me just showing you how to set up a mining rig for the umpteenth time. I mean, let's just say if you set up a mining rig, then you've set up a mining rig. It's not impossible to do. We'll go over that kind of stuff. It is important. I get it, but the miners are a lot easier than it used to be. So, Aaron Mathis caging for a second interview. Flattery will get you everywhere, sir. Keep talking dirty to me in the comments there. All right, so that was the ZelCash team, at least from sort of a team profile. I really like doing the team profile. That was great. I did the same thing with Loki, right? That's how you can validate that at least these are real people. They might not be making all the perfect choices, but if Dan is any kind of indication, it's okay to say I don't know. From a business perspective, I mean, that's what I used to have to train professionals to learn how to do that. Just say, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. I'll get back to you. It's so important. And I think, yeah, team leadership has to be able to say that. So let me go ahead and I'm going to cut some of ZelCash's screen time there. Sorry, Scribbles. Sorry, the trunk. You guys remember Homestar owner? Sorry, Mr. The Trunk. Hey, the trunk. I'm shutting down your page, the trunk. Okay. Oh man, I almost feel bad about going back to Mind Your Biz here. Hey, High Tech, thanks so much. So, Zero Cool in real life, I've not reached out to Reddit yet. Feel free to have them reach out to me. That would be awesome if you do. Having coin projects reach out to me, it's not unwelcome. I'm happy to do that. I just had somebody from the Loki team you saw on Discord reach back out to me in order to re-engage for a follow-up conversation on the channel. So that's very welcome. Having coin projects reach out to me, super cool. Prioritizing all the interviews, hard. That's a little bit harder, scheduling everything. But I'm happy to have them reach out to me as well. I will look into Reddit, but it might not be immediately because I've got a couple of things on my plate. So let's go back over here. I saw Jeremy, he jumped in earlier on in the live stream and said that dlive.io is a good live streaming platform. What do you guys think? Should I give this a try? I am definitely going to be working on Bit.Tube. So right, hey Zero Cool, really appreciate that. Yeah, have them reach out to me on Discord. That'd be the easiest way, is to have them reach out on Discord. But right here, I've got a bunch of my content that has already dynamite. All right, man, 2 for 1. Yeah, get Red and Coin on the channel right now. I think maybe my wife has called me 2 or 3 times. I might possibly need to eventually go home. Eventually. It's only 7:30 here though, so maybe I can do another one. All right. So let's talk about some of these platforms though, because I'm interested. And oh hey, Jeremy's saying that live stream and video uploads on dlive.io. Here's why I'm interested in Bit.Tube, and here's why I'm interested in interviewing them. So let me give some counterpoint. I want to take a look at this really fast, but I've looked into Bit.Tube a little bit already, and here's what I'm thinking here. So first thing is I've already got a home channel here, so you can go to bit.tube/mindyourbiz. Alrighty, guys. Well, okay, we'll pause that. That's a bit much, but it's kind of laid out. I've got the night theme going already, and you see right here, it's already imported quite a bit of my content in one click. Everything from YouTube pulled right over. Jeremy's pimping me out. Oh, okay, Jeremy. If I have to work this corner another hour for you, I'll do it. All right. But over here on Bit.Tube, I just like that there was a one-click import of everything from YouTube. This is super helpful. Super helpful. Thomas, hey, welcome back over to the channel. But right here, being able to upload, being able to do live streams. What I will say is that I feel like adoption is not very high. If you go over to D.Tube, for example, you're going to notice there's some people publishing on D.Tube. There are a lot more people publishing on D.Tube, kind of regulars. So when I go to hot videos, for example, right here, they list the amount of steam that's been generated by a given video. And you see right here, 3 hours ago, Fortnite live streamer just pulled down $138. So there's movement here is what I'm saying. Adoption and movement. I'm not doing this for the bounty. I'm not doing it strictly for the money. Money's cool. I appreciate it. Hey, I mean, you got to use it to get along, right? But what I'm getting at here is that this is just a key indicator of adoption. So you can actually see where there's activity here. I go back over to Bit.Tube, and if I just go to the main features and start looking at what's trending there, navigate away from my page. First off, this is frustrating. Sorry, this bothers me. I'm going to go on record as saying that this bothers me. You'll notice that on my Discord, I don't have anything called rig porn. I'm not a huge believer in pornography as a useful contribution to society. Sorry, guys, if that bothers you. I'm sorry if there's anybody in the audience for whom that is a surprise or a disappointment. But I'm not very sold on pornography's function in society. Get a girlfriend. Get a date. Just going to throw that one out there. But, and I apologize if that's offensive to you personally. So, but, deal with that. I've got a big issue with that. And so what bothers me about when people go to IPFS publishing platforms and they say, hey, it's censorship resistant, the first thing people start doing is uploading softcore porn, right? They start uploading pictures of ladies holding their boobs and girls in bikinis and stuff. And I don't really appreciate that. That tells me that it's not really being utilized by content creators who are trying to add value. Just saying, this is low-hanging fruit. Anybody can go rip this stuff from anywhere and then go re-upload it to here, right? Freebooting always happens. Yeah, thank you, Tristan. I'm just going to call this one how it is. Like, if it hurts your feelings, bummer. I put in hard work to build a relationship with my wife, and we've been together for a long time, and I'm going to keep on putting that hard work because all this nonsense you see over here, it's fake. It's fake. None of it's real. I realize this is not like Zero Cool. He's like, you're totally right, Seth, but that thumbnail over there though, here we go. Triggered. All right, we'll get that away. Take that away. But D.Tube, I feel like one major user interface, user experience design that they did that they got very right was right here over on the gear icon. Not safe for work videos, just a quick toggle. You can either show them or you can fully hide them. I'm going to do something live that I want you to see that I think sets this apart. I'm already in the hot video section and I'm going to go to show not safe for work videos. That's been toggled already. So when I toggle that and I refresh, take a look at the hot video section. No softcore porn. Because there's enough value-added content here that people don't need it. That's not why they come to this platform. That tells me that there is adoption here. Thomas, I agree with you. Happy wife, happy life. All around. But right there, I even had... maybe I didn't. Okay, so I had not safe for work. Not safe for work. I had it shown. Still nothing in the top 50 videos there. So, hey, Zero Cool saying so true. Just hit 25 years with your spouse. Hey, I appreciate that. And congratulations. That's hard work. Think about that. That's a quarter of a century, man. That's a lot of work. There are a lot of companies that don't exist after their first 5 years, that fold after their first year. And holding a marriage down or holding a committed relationship down, oftentimes a lot more moving parts than a business. Just going to say that. So right here, guys, D.Tube, what I really like about D.Tube is the way that they've got the adoption really, really high. What I like about Bit.Tube, let me get back to this. Yeah, I think that the trending stuff a lot of it is really smutty, which tells me that there's not a whole lot going on yet. And right here, hey, I'm on the front page for new videos. Hey, Christy, check it out. There you are. You're on the front page of Bit.Tube. How does that make you feel? But over here, what I like about Bit.Tube, what I think is kind of promising about Bit.Tube, is over on the left-hand side. Let me increase the font size here for the live stream. But over here, I can upload media, I can broadcast. They've got, it's a web wallet as a beta, and then they've got here mining. They'll pre-configure a miner that you can download for the desktop. It's already got OpenCL and CUDA libraries built in, bundled with it. And yes, all right. Hey, check that out. We got everyone's coming out of the woodwork. We got Jeremy, 15 years. Hey, we talked about that, man. Jeremy and Diana are inspiring. They're an inspiring couple. And then Dynamite, 10 years, 2 kids. Takes work, man. Takes work. So, and Zero Cool. Hey, he's right. Jeremy, no rings, no strings. So, right over here, my wallet, and then they've got start mining. What it's going to do is it's going to download a pre-configured desktop miner, it'll be some kind of because I think they're a fork of a crypto node, so it'll be some kind of like Crypto Night desktop miner, something like XMR stack that's pre-configured or whatever. And hey, Thomas, what? Okay, I thought Christy was literally the only girl that watched that, and Lisa Lowry. There were only 2 girls that ever watched the channel, so that's cool. Nice. So Jeremy is engaged. Okay, if there's a ring, I guess it actually kind of counts because frankly, Jeremy, I am convinced that in New Jersey, you guys are already common law married. Legit, for real, you guys are legally married. I think that's true. Just throwing that out there. Somebody check out the laws in New Jersey and post it in the comments because I actually think that Jeremy and Diana are legally a married couple. I think that's actually happened. So throwing that out there. But here on Bit.Tube, guys, what I really appreciate about the promise of Bit.Tube is that the mining rewards are shared real time. They're looking at doing browser mining as well down the line so that as you watch a video, I'm going to just pop open this one, shamelessly just pop open the one with Christy.
GPU pickaxe.
Did you have to use a water jet on that?
So I'm going to mute it for right now. But right here, you'll notice right there, it says POV. That number grows. So the longer the watch time, the longer the duration, the longer the mining rewards that are actively then split among content publishers. So I think this is a promising development if they can continue to sort of shape and craft this into something useful. I think this could be a really great platform for creators. Now, I live currently in Utah, which might sound weird, but Utah actually has the largest number of paid YouTube creators per capita of any state in the union, and actually of any country in the world. There aren't more money generating YouTube creators per number of just regular residents anywhere else in any developed nation than in Utah, which is crazy to me. I don't know how that happened, but there are a bunch of people. Yeah. Thank you for the comment there. So is that 6 MTZHP, not exactly browser mining. It doesn't cook your CPU. Thank you. Because yeah, browser miners are like indiscriminate. They're really bad sometimes. I think I tried one really briefly on a website and it just always defaulted back up to like 90% CPU utilization. It was nuts. So I don't know exactly what the thing is. Roy's saying it's based on smart algorithm that does not consume resources like standard CPU mining. It has 30% of the block rewards allocated to the proof of view. There you go. Proof of view. Thank you, guys. You're educating me on this, and I'm trying to get a little bit up to speed before I have Saber on the show. I don't want to look like a complete noob when I have him on the show. So this is kind of why I'm looking at this platform and considering, would this work? Now, right there, having it sort of clamped down to 720p quality, not super happy about that. But playback, variable playback, this is not impossible to do, right? HTML5 player, JW player has had this enabled for a while now. Really? 8-speed playback? You guys want to hear this? That just sounds like a bad day. So I'm going to avoid doing that. But it's interesting that you can. Let's try 4-speed playback. What does Christy sound like? Man, I could do so much study this way. Guys, okay, Jeremy, Christy, we're gonna do all of our live streams over here so people can play back at 4x speed and they can just get like knowledge bombed at 4 times the speed. It'll be amazing. 400% increase in knowledge gain, real time. But this is what I'm looking at right now is Bit.Tube before I have Saber on the show. So based on what you've seen so far, this is pretty much what you're seeing is what I'm seeing real time. And I'm doing this import of a lot of my catalog from YouTube just to see how that goes, to see how easy it is to work with, and then to see what the natural discovery is like on Bit.Tube. Because if I did the exact same thing, if I could do the exact same thing on DTube, I already know what discovery would be like. And I already know that there's a lot of adoption. There's high adoption of the platform, right? It's used, is what I'm saying. People actually watch. So 6 hours ago, already has $66 or $55 generated, and corresponds to at least 74 thumbs ups, right? And then corresponds to, at least for them, they've got over 4,000 subscribers to that channel, which they can do, right? They can watch that channel. So I think in terms of a content delivery system, and in terms of there we go. Yeah, hey Romeo, I'm with you. There are very few people who speak fast enough for me to feel like I need to slow it down past 1.5 speed. So awesome. Nice. Hey, 6MTZHP. Thank you so much for offering to tip me some tube there. We'll see how this goes. It's kind of an experiment. And the big experiment that I want to go with to kind of bookend the live stream, go back to what I started with, go back to hardware. And I want to use a hardware H.264 encoder to simulcast to YouTube and over here to Bit.Tube simultaneously. It'll do a couple of things. First off, it'll get rid of some of the awkwardness that you saw on this live stream, where OBS is good, but a hardware encoder is basically impossible to beat, right? Where I don't have to worry about right now the Core i7 over here doing the encoding for me or offloading it onto a GPU, which is typically not all that good. When I have a hardware encoder, it looks flawless. It's like watching TV, basically. It keeps the bitrate at whatever setting I choose, and then keeps it really, really crisp. So I'm kind of excited about that. So what? Dude. Okay, Jeremy is totally convincing me to use DLive here. Every time he mentions a new feature of it, I'm like, okay, everything I know is a lie. All right, so right here, the next generation live streaming and video community on the blockchain. Ooh, and they've got an Android app. Can I go live from my phone? Dang. Oh, no, I can watch. All right. So to be fair, there's feature parity there, right? So I've already there is a Bit.Tube application for Android, and they're launching on iOS really, really soon. Let me scroll back up to where I got that. But the Bit.Tube application, I haven't even finished logging in yet, but it's right there. And it's the same exact user interface as what I see here on Bit.Tube. With everything kind of sorted the same way. I can view my wallet from there after I log in with my credentials, which I think in terms of user experience, and Thomas, DTube sucks though. Oh man. Oh, okay. DLive asks you to do a verification video. Interesting. I wonder who required that. KYC laws? I mean, it's not like you're doing trades, right? That is weird. But so yeah, I'll look into dlive.io. Guys, we'll talk to Jeremy and to Christy about it. Let me ask you, for the purpose of this video, do you think we should bring Mystery Mining Mondays to multiple platforms? If so, which platforms would you recommend? I'm evaluating Bit.Tube right now. I've already evaluated DTube, and it has adoption. Might not be perfect, but here's the thing, guys. YouTube isn't perfect. Vimeo isn't perfect. VO wasn't perfect, but it died. So many other, Vidler wasn't perfect, and it went totally corporate, right? All they do is corporate video hosting now. There's so many different video hosting platforms, Dailymotion and all the others, that kind of came and went. So, oh, hey, so Jeremy says he, make sure you're not uploading other people's content. Yeah, freebooting is terrible. Special place reserved in hell for people who freeboot. Please don't take my content and upload it to other platforms. It's kind of messed up. So, all right. So, so yeah, Thomas saying use DTube on Steemit. It kind of makes sense to me too. I wind up having to kind of just post an embed link from YouTube over to Steemit when I want to publish on Steemit. So we've got to try to find some front runners in the content publishing space on blockchain, right? Crypto, because it just kind of makes sense that we can support each other with these views. Like right now, we got 43 live viewers. We had almost 70 at the peak when we had Dan back on the show talking about ZelCash, because his community came in sort of like, oh, and threw it a big old ZelCash love bomb, right? So when we got live viewers on these platforms, it makes sense that the viewership alone should offer some kind of support, especially if we've got hardware that can be used to generate rewards, not just proof of view, but when it's attached to some kind of mining. Kind of makes sense. So these are questions that I'm asking myself and try to figure out where to go next. And I'm asking you now, which platforms do you think we should try down the line for live streams? All right. Aaron wants me to talk about Equinox. Okay. Which one? The winter equinox? The summer equinox? Hey, thanks for the love. I appreciate that. 5 tube coins over there. That's awesome. And when it was interplanetary broadcast coin, I was mining it for a short time too. Very profitable to mine, actually, especially on Vega cards, which are awesome Crypto Night performers. So, which you've seen my content before talking about the Vega Frontier Edition. Wait a second. The Vega edition. So, yeah. Well, Aaron, we got to get you back on the channel. Soon. So why don't we do that follow-up interview later on this week? So now, ball's in your court, brother. Let's make that happen later on this week, and let's talk about that for BCI, because I need to have you back on the show, and I need to see how close I've come to winning your referral contest, because I'm only in this for the rewards, guys. All right. I probably need to end this live stream, but let me know in the comments, is there a live streaming platform, or is there a blockchain-based publishing platform that maybe uses IPFS, like D-Tube, like Bit.Tube? Is there a competitor to any of those that you think would be good for me to try out, or for the Mystery Mining Show to try out together, Jeremy, Christy, and me? Let me know in the comments. We're probably going to simulcast, and we'll try that in addition to YouTube to make sure we don't alienate any of our viewers here. But I want to hear your comments. I want to get your feedback. I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. I'll be evaluating Bit.Tube this week before I bring on Saber to talk to the lead developer of this project, because that for me is that's just awesome. I love being able to talk to the projects that make this stuff happen. So far I'm seeing user experience that I like. Might not be perfect, right? Hey, William Mitchell, I'm not active on Twitch, but I'm already registered on Twitch as Mind Your Biz, so we could use Twitch also. Again, simulcasting, I can do multiple streams there, and we can simulcast to all kinds of different platforms at the same time, if we think that makes sense. Izzy, okay, we're going to engage this. All right. So Izzy, this is important for us to get to. Izzy, you're asking, over $5 million of FPGAs have been sold through Minority with very little evidence of a working product. Is this real life? I want this to be real, but still in the skeptic camp. I appreciate you bringing that up. I really do, because I've had conversations with people from Minority, most notably Christy, who may even be in the comments here, and then also had conversations with people who are in active development of bit streams for FPGAs. And then I've had recent conversations with people who are working on the supply chain and working on the public storefronts for FPGAs. Yes, they are real. Okay? I don't work for Minority. I don't work for Xilinx. I don't work for Oh God, a company. But I can tell you that they're real. I'm having conversations with people who are working on supply chain for this. It's real, but it does take real time to fulfill. I can tell you that as far as supply chain goes. So I'll just address that as directly as I possibly can. All right. So you're asking also, for what it's worth, or saying Bit.Tube is going to be FPGA resistant with its fork on July 2nd. Interesting. Interesting. So Zero Cool, you're also asking, Seth, what coins are you mining at the moment, if you don't mind answering? Well, frankly, I've been doing primarily tests at the moment. And so most recently I was mining Ethereum Classic. It's been days since I've been actively mining here in the office because I always have a mic going. But I'm also mining Walton Chain over here on this workstation build. So the idea is that I'm building something that is workstation class so that it can support enough GPUs, rather enough logical threads with the CPU that it can run all the GPUs that Walton Chain needs, if that makes sense. Because Walton Chain is kind of a little bit different. So, all right, Thomas is developing on FPGA as well. I'm going to check out my Discord, Thomas. We need to chat a little more in depth. We're going to have David, GPU Hoarder, on the show later on this week. Maybe we can do a double feature and have we'll do dual FPGAs, right? You got to do your part now. All right, guys, I've got to sign off. Been a long day. Been a long but productive live stream. Thank you so much for talking about ZelCash, drawing Dan out of the peanut gallery. And thank you so much for asking some tough questions in the comments. Christy, thank you for your skepticism. And thank you everybody else who brought skepticism, right? We need counterpoint. We need differences of opinions. If we all just got along, we'd all be wearing, whatever, silver tracksuits and Nikes and waiting for the Hail Bob comment and drinking poison pellets or whatever, poison Kool-Aid. We can't all think alike, right? We got to have dissent. We've got to be critical thinkers, right? So I appreciate you guys drawing Dan out, Agent Smith, and shout out to Agent Smith, Dan, once again for being game to do that. That was awesome. So I will see you guys tomorrow. There will be some content for tomorrow, so definitely check in. You'll be notified, of course. Make sure you hit the click the not only the subscribe button, but the bell icon, so you're notified when I go live, because I've been going live without giving advance notice, without scheduling events recently. But you're the reason I do this. You know who loves your face. This guy. I love your face. I will see you in the next one.